All right, this is 8th grade, Module 4, Lesson 22 on constant rates revisited. So we're going to look at those constant rates, those slopes, all meaning the same thing there. And in some cases, we're going to compare. So here we go. Number 1, Peter paints a wall at a constant rate of 2 square feet per minute. So we're going to assume the area Y in square feet after the area X minutes. So we want to write our equation. So we're going to first start by writing our rate that he's already been given here, which is 2 square feet in 1 minute. So it's a 2 to 1. Now my Y is my square footage and my X is minutes. To get my equation, I'm going to cross multiply. And so 1 times Y is just Y equals, and 2 times X is 2X. So that's the equation that I'm going to use here. Now what we're going to do is come down here and sketch that graph. Now you know the number in front of X is your slope. If my slope is 2, that means it went up 2 and ran 1. Now since I don't have a B, as you can see here, there's nothing at the end, that means my B is a 0. So I'm going to go up 2 over 1. And there's my other dot. And with your straight edge, you're going to go ahead and connect that and make a line graph. All right, let's go ahead and do C. C says, using the graph or the equation, determine the total area he paints after 8 minutes, an hour and a half, and 2 hours. All right, so since our equation was written where the X represented minutes, we have some conversions to do when we get to the hours here. But let's first solve for the 8-minute problem. And I'm going to kind of divide my paper up here. So this is going to be Y equals 2 times 8. So Y equals 16 square feet because my Y represents square feet. All right, this is going to be for the 1.5 hours. And how many minutes are in 1.5? 90 minutes. So again, you want to convert everything into minutes since your formula or your equation is using minutes. So we're going to have Y equals 2 times 90, which gives you Y equals 180 square feet. And our last one here is 2 hours. 2 hours is 120 minutes. So we're going to say Y equals 2 times 120, and Y equals 240 square feet. All right, I'm going to move this up for number 2. Number 2 says, use the figure below to see what Nathan's constant walking rate is. So let's find his slope. I'm going to start here at this dot, and I'm going to go up here. So if you see, I went up 2 and I ran 1. So a 2 to 1 rate, or you can say a rate of 2 as well, either one. Now we're going to talk about Nicole. So this was for Nathan. Here's Nicole. Nicole just finished a 5-mile walkathon. It took her 1.4 hours. Assume she walks at that constant rate. Let Y represent the distance. Nicole walks in X hours. So let's go ahead and set up our equation here. So she goes 5 miles in 1.4 hours. And we're going to set that equal to Y over X. If I cross multiply, I get 1.4Y equals 5X. I'm going to divide out that 1.4 because I want the Y by itself. Those cancel. And I get Y equals 5 over 1.4X. And I'm just going to leave it like that for now. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the next page. Now it wants to know who goes faster. And sometimes it's hard to determine that when one of your numbers has a decimal in the denominator. But in this case, it's a little bit easier because Nathan was a whole number. So Nathan, his rate was 2. All right, so who went faster? So we have Nathan at a rate of 2 to 1. And then we have Nicole. Her rate is 5 to 1.4. There we go. So we're going to compare 2 to 1 versus 5 to 1.4. Now I'm going to make this a little easier because you don't need to have this 1 underneath here. I'm going to erase that. That's 2 whole versus a fraction. So right away, Nathan is bigger. Nathan has a faster rate because he's a whole value versus a fractional value. All right, let's try number 3. Susan can type 4 pages in 10 minutes. Assuming that she continues at that constant rate, what is her equation? So we have 4 to 10, and again, it's y over x. So I get 10y equals 4x. Divide out that 10 so you can get the y by itself. And y equals 4 over 10x, but let's simplify that for a final answer of y equals 2/5 x. So there's my equation. Now that was for Susan. Now we have Anne. Anne, her form is a table here. We're going to look at her table. I'm just going to pick the easiest one. Since you know it's going to be y over x to find the constant, I'm not going to pick these ones that have fractional pieces. Just go ahead and pick the first one. So her y is 2 and her x is 3. So this is Nicole's rate. So who's faster? We have Nicole at a 2 to 3. And then we have Susan at a 2 to 5. So we're going to compare these. Which is larger, 2/3 or 2/5? 2/3. And that's your answer there. All right, and that is your rate there for Nicole. All right, let's move it to number 4. So 4 and 5 you are responsible for. So on 4, actually it's not 4 and 5, it's 4A, 4B, and 5. So make sure you do all 3. And if you forget what it means to be proportional, make sure you look up. There are 2 things that a graph must have in order to be proportional. So make sure you check those out. So that ends this tutorial.